Pull up outside a hotel at night in the new S-Class and the grille lights up. Not the headlights, the grille itself, and optionally the standing star on the bonnet as well, glowing above the badge like a small lamp. That's a first in the history of the nameplate, and I'll be honest with you, my first thought wasn't about luxury. It was that somebody is going to steal that, but it tells you exactly what this update is about, and it isn't the engine. Now, the important housekeeping, because the model year on the title is doing some work. This is not an 8th generation S-Class, it's a facelift of the W223, the car that arrived in 2020, and Mercedes revealed it in full back in January, with order books opening the same week. In America, it becomes the 2027 car. In Europe, it's already being delivered. Which means I'm in an unusual position for a first look. Almost everything here is on the record rather than guessed at. Where something is still reporting rather than confirmation, I'll flag it. And where a question hasn't been answered, I'll say that too instead of filling the gap. As of July 2026, this is where things stand. So, confirmed, and it's the headline number. Mercedes says more than 50% of the car, around 2,700 components, has been newly developed, updated, or refined. They're calling it the most comprehensive mid-cycle update in the model's history. That's a big claim from a company that has been facelifting this car since 1972. And it explains why the update arrived later than Mercedes normally moves. 4 years is the usual midpoint. This one took closer to 6, which reporting links to the decision to keep combustion cars on sale well past 2030. So the money that might have gone into a replacement went into this instead. Outside, it's evolution rather than revolution. Bigger radiator grille, illuminated for the first time. New headlight graphics with the star motif that's been spreading across the range. New rear lamp graphics that pull the width out. And a new optional 20-inch multi-spoke wheel. 50 cross spokes, made with a high-pressure casting process, finished in something called Tremolit metallic high sheen. That's the level of detail we're at, and for this car, that's not a criticism. Nobody buys an S-Class hoping it looks unfamiliar. Inside is where the money went. The car now runs MB.OS, Mercedes' own operating system, on a new electrical architecture with a liquid-cooled central control unit doing the heavy lifting. The screens are called Super Screen, and this is the bit I want to be precise about, because people keep confusing it with the Hyperscreen from the EQS. It isn't a full-width wall of glass. The 12.3-inch driver display sits on its own ahead of the wheel, and then a 14.4-inch center touchscreen and a 12.3-inch passenger screen live under one continuous panel. Confirmed improvements. Menus load faster. Touch inputs register with less delay, and the voice assistant now has generative AI behind it, so it handles conversation more naturally than the old one. Count the rear entertainment displays, and there are up to 7 screens in this thing. 2 13.1-inch units behind the front seats, and the rear tablet that used to live in the armrest is gone, replaced by individual handheld controllers, 1 each, so the back seat stops negotiating over a single remote. And this is the change I'd have led with if I ran the press office. Some physical controls are back on the steering wheel. New switchgear, real buttons. We'll come back to why that matters. Now the mechanical side, and there's more here than a facelift usually delivers. Confirmed, a new V8, codenamed M177 Evo, 4 liters, twin turbo, built by AMG, and it has a flat plane crank. The first flat-plane V8 Mercedes has fitted to anything since the AMG GT Black Series in 2020. In the S580, it makes 393 kilowatts, so about 537 PS and 750 Newton meters. That's up 23 kilowatts and 50 Newton meters on the engine it replaces. And Mercedes says the combined fuel figure is unchanged. The 6 cylinders carry on with revisions, up to 330 kilowatts for the petrol, 230 kilowatts, and 650 Newton meters for the 3-liter diesel. And every single engine in the range now runs a 48-volt mild hybrid system with a 17 kilowatt starter generator. The plug-in hybrids got the biggest functional upgrade, electric-only range up to around 62 miles on the WLTP cycle, which is a genuinely useful number if your life is a 30-mile commute each way. The S450e picks up 75 PS, and the combined output on the PHEVs runs up to 430 kilowatts. There's a small MB.OS detail I liked more than the V8, actually. The cornering light function now uses camera data and map intelligence together, so the beam swings based on what the road is about to do rather than what the steering wheel has already done. That's software doing something a mechanical system couldn't, and it's the sort of thing this car has always existed to introduce. Chassis. Adaptive air suspension stays standard, and rear axle steering is now standard in a reduced angle form rather than an option. The latest MB Drive Assist is standard, with a more capable Drive Assist Pro package in markets where the regulations allow it. Reporting says there's an NVIDIA chip behind that doing the processing. Solid reporting, not something Mercedes has spelled out in those terms. And that's the confirmed material done. Two things remain unresolved, and they matter. The short wheelbase car may be quietly disappearing. Not confirmed, but every prototype anybody photographed was the long car, and BMW already went that way with the 7 Series. 7 variants have been listed for Europe, with both lengths available. So treat this as a live question rather than a decision. And there's no electric S-Class here. That's coming on the 8th generation, not this one. The EQS exists, but Mercedes worked out that S-Class buyers want a 3-box shape, and this facelift stays a combustion car with electrification bolted to everything. Right. Here's the part nobody else makes, and for this car, it's the whole ballgame. I went through what W223 owners have been complaining about for 5 years and asked one question. Does the facelift fix it? Screens first, because it dominates everything. Owners report MBUX lag, unresponsive touch, and the main screen going black. There's a related pattern that comes up again and again and bothers me more than any single fault. Small things disabling big things. One sensor lets go, and the cluster fills with warnings, and the car goes to the dealer even though it drives perfectly. Add over-the-air updates that occasionally fix one item and introduce another, and you get an ownership experience where the car is mechanically fine and still irritating. Someone who works as a concierge at a dealership described the pattern from the inside. Ambient lighting faults throwing cluster alerts, rear chauffeur seats refusing to recline, and the center screen going dark or slowing down. That's a person who sees a lot of these cars, not one unlucky owner. Does the facelift fix it? This is exactly what MB.OS and the new architecture are for, so the intention is clear and the hardware is genuinely new. Whether new software is more stable software, nobody can tell you yet, including me. What I'd want if I were spending this money is a long test drive with the car sitting idle for 20 minutes to see whether anything wobbles. Steering wheel second. The touch-sensitive controls on the current car get taken apart in the forums. One owner described it as pressing one giant button and called it a step backwards from having actual switches. Someone else complained they couldn't raise the fan speed without taking their eyes off the road. And got a fair reply, which is that voice control does all of that now if you use it. Does the facelift fix it? Partly, yes. Physical controls returning to the wheel is a direct answer to 5 years of that complaint. That's the single most responsive thing about this update. Heat third, and this one connects to the official record, so I'll do them together. In February 2025, Mercedes recalled 20,239 S-Class and Maybach cars in America. The 2021 to 2023 S580 4MATIC, the 2021 to 2022 S500, the 2023 S580e, and Maybach S580 and S680 models, front axle brake hoses that could leak over time, with the notice specifically citing hot and humid climates and a risk of reduced braking or losing one of 2 circuits. Dealers replace the hoses. If you're in Queensland, Texas, or Florida and shopping used, that's a VIN check before anything else. Boot space fifth, quickly, because it surprises people at this price. The current car carries between roughly 8 and 11 cubic feet, depending on which version you're in. The plug-in hybrids lose the most to the battery. For a car this long, that's modest, and if your weekends involve golf clubs and a dog, measure before you sign. Nothing published suggests the facelift changes the packaging. Air suspension sixth. Independent specialists list the multi-chamber air suspension, springs, compressor, valve block, as a wear item on this car, and rear axle steering actuators show up in failure reports too. Nothing published suggests either of those components has been redesigned. That's not a reason to avoid the car. It's a reason to think hard about how long you plan to keep it after the warranty ends. One more, and it's smaller but telling. An owner who ran a previous generation S-Class for 3 years, and then this one for 3.5, made an observation I keep thinking about. The older car felt slightly more solid underneath, while the new one has better padded surfaces. His single biggest gripe wasn't software at all. It was the center armrest. Money stamped July 2026 because these numbers move. In Germany, where it launched, it opens at €121,356. Britain's lineup starts with the S350D diesel, four-wheel drive only, with the plug-in SV350E rear drive only. UK pricing wasn't published at reveal, and the German figure converts to somewhere around £105,000, which is a conversion and not a price list. In Australia, the local range still hadn't been confirmed as of the reveal, though the S450 and the long wheelbase S580 are the likely pair. And for reference in the States, the outgoing car sits around $119,500 for the S500 and about $120,600 for the S580, with Maybach money starting north of $200,000. So where does that leave you? If you want an S-Class, this is a better one than the car it replaces in the 2 areas that actually generated complaints: the software and the switchgear. Plus a new V8 that nobody asked for and everybody will enjoy. That's a good facelift. But be clear about what you're buying. The underlying car is from 2020. The electric one is a generation away, and the components that historically cost real money after the warranty haven't obviously changed. If you keep cars for 3 years, none of that touches you. If you keep them for 10, it's the whole conversation. If you own a W2223, I want your climate and your one complaint. That's the comment that helps the next person. If you sold one, tell me why and what replaced it, because those posts are worth more than any review. And if you're choosing between this and a 7 Series, say which way you're leaning and what's tipping it. We went through the current 7 Series in detail recently, and it lines up directly against this. The Maybach version is next, because the pricing on that one deserves its own video. That's the picture as it stands. Whatever you land on, buy it with your eyes open. See you in the next one.